We were never in a relationship, but in, I guess, a situationship, leading me on in a sense. I'm not gonna take that anymore.
Today's guest is known for getting ridiculously bent out of shape.
Like this.
Sofie Dossi is a 21-year-old contortionist who got her big break when she received a golden buzzer in America's Got Talent.
You're really amazing, and to be 15 years old.
Since then, Sofie has directed her laser focus towards YouTube.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another Sofie Dossi YouTube video.
On this week's episode, Sofie shares tips for career longevity.
After America's Got Talent, I just decided to use that platform I had and to make something out of it.
Sofie is always stretching her limits, physically and artistically.
I feel like I made a lot of my extra crazy moves was having that pressure on me.
We hope you love getting to know her as much as we did.
I've learned to be very confident with myself to the point where comments now doesn't affect me.
What is contortion, right? Like, I'm sure so much of the audience doesn't know what that is. So can you explain that to us?
Yeah, so contortion is where you're hyper flexible, like you're more flexible than the average bendiness. Like say, okay, you can do a back bend, right? Being a contortionist, you can touch your head to your butt from a back bend.
Wow.
It's just being more flexible than the average person.
I feel like, explaining it only goes so far. The best way to fully understand it is to actually see it. Are you actually
Do you
able to
mind?
show
I
us?
can
Is that
show
fine?
you.
Okay. Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Wow.
That is incredible.
That is incredible.
For those
Your head is
listening,
distant. That
I
was so
know,
easy
that
as
was
well.
amazing.
That was unbelievable.
And for those just listening on the podcast, you definitely have to watch the video to make sure that you could see the moves that just happened.
Yeah, for everyone who's listening, our reactions didn't do justice to what Sofie just did.
We were just speechless.
Yeah,
that was the problem.
Sofie, from what I understand, you got inspired because you were watching Cirque du Soleil.
Yes.
And you saw it and you were like, I can do that. Now, most of us, when we're looking at Cirque du Soleil, we're like, we can't do that. What gave you that confidence or that feeling or that insight when you saw this and you were like, I actually have the skill to do that or the passion for that?
So I did have a gymnastics background. I did gymnastics from age 7 to 10 for 3 years. And then from there, also had a dance background of 1.5 years. I saw a YouTube video of a contortionist. I was like, I can do that. And I didn't realize my back was that flexible. But at the same time, I would do contortion all the time around the house. Like I used to watch TV with my feet over my head, like my feet just touching my head. I used to just find that so amusing and run in a back bend all around my house just because I thought it was fun. But I just thought this was normal. I didn't think it was some crazy unique skill of any sort. Even my parents didn't even think so until basically I saw a Cirque du Soleil show and I was like, what she's doing, I could do that. And my mom was like, no, you can't try it. And I tried it and she's like, oh, you can do that. That's so crazy. And then from there it just kind of became a hobby and a passion, but really didn't expect it to go anywhere. I wasn't really planning on it to go anywhere.
Right. Yeah, one of the things I find so fascinating is there's this perception, people could hear your story and say, you've got this natural gift. Of course, that's why you're successful, right? But I don't think they understand that even when you do have natural gifts, there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. It's not like that just skyrocketed you to success, right? So what is the process of actually you discovering you have a talent and then turning that into actual financial success, career success?
I wanted to be the best in contortion. That was my goal initially. I went on America's Got Talent, and when I went on there, I wasn't really expecting, I was like, if I go far, I go far. I just really want to make it past the first round. That was my initial goal with that. And obviously ended up making it all the way to the end and, amazing experience and everything. And
The golden buzzer.
yeah, got the golden buzzer. It was amazing. I guess from after America's Got Talent, I just decided to use that platform I had and to make something out of it. So I started a YouTube channel, started meeting other YouTubers, collabing with them, and started kind of making my contortion into business.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about the development of the skill? Like, how do you practice this? What kind of classes do you go to? Do you have a coach? Do you have a trainer? Is it something you self-learn? Like, walk us through a bit of the mastery of, when you said I wanted to be the best contortionist, I find that fascinating because I think whenever you set out to be the best at something, it requires more training, more discipline, more focus. Walk us through what training looks like to do something like that so effortlessly.
So I taught myself, and how I would when I initially started training, I'd study like contortionists online on YouTube with like who do crazy moves, and I'd study each and every technique that they were doing. And if I couldn't get it, I'd go back onto the computer and I'd be like, okay, what is she doing that I'm not doing? And actually, I involved my dad a lot, and I was like, Dad, watch her and then watch me and see what I'm doing wrong and what she's doing. And like, I involved my dad to help me with that. And yeah, that's kind of just how I taught myself to do it.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
With you, like a lot of it is also a family operation, right? Like you get to work with your mom and your brother. What's it like working with your family and trying to build a career out of it?
You know, I love working with family because they always have your best interest at heart. Mm-hmm. My mom has always, helped me with little logistics, and my dad, he always builds my props or things I, need to get built. He's there for me and will do it. Like all my hand balancing canes, he built those, and all that equipment. And my brother, he is a musician and a producer, and then he also edits for my YouTube videos and things like that. And it's a whole family operation.
So I can't help but think, like, as an Indian guy, thinking about if I ever told my mom that I want to go into contortion, she'd say, absolutely not, right? We always talk about there's these traditional expectations of what you have to do with your career. And I'm sure there's lots of young people too that are listening or watching that have a certain dream, and society or their parents or their friends might be judgmental of that. So what was that like trying to explain that unique dream? Were they supportive? And if for those that weren't, how did you get through that tough time?
It happened so fast and so interesting because we had just got off America's Got Talent before I started YouTube and everything. And I feel like it was so interesting because it kind of just happened naturally. My mom kind of started help manage and everything for me. And then my dad was like, oh, what do you need for your YouTube videos? And it would help me with that stuff if I need something built. And then when I first made my first YouTube video, I was like, Zach, can you just please help me with this just this one time? And I'll edit my other videos after that. You're just such a good editor. I want you to do it for the first time. And he was like, oh, fine. Okay. He kind of just started seeing the traction off of it and was like, wait, I'll edit for you. This is actually cool.
I want 10%.
And how old were you around when you went on America's Got Talent? Britain, there we go, in British again. How old were you when you went on America's Got Talent?
I was 14 and halfway through to turn 15.
So you're 14 going on 15.
Oh
I'm just looking back. When I was 14 going on 15, I was definitely not on America's Got Talent or Britain's Got Talent or any
Very
of that.
nerve-wracking.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Tell us a bit about the pressure of first of all, going to something like that at that age. B, having to come up with a new routine every round you make it through. That's a lot of pressure as a young person, a lot of stress. What was good for you? What were you doing that was helping you? And what were some of the challenges that you went through at that time, which you think would be useful if there's someone listening right now going, I want to go on America's Got Talent, right? There's someone who's watching you right now going, I want to do what Sofie does, or I have a talent or a passion. What kind of advice would you give to them?
Well, I think what was very interesting going on America's Got Talent is I was naturally a very shy person, and obviously going on a big show, you can't be. So it kind of broke me a little bit out of my shell. You have to talk to a huge audience, I think also getting into it, I was like, okay, I'll save some moves for the next round or something like that. And one of the producers there was like, no, you can't do that. You have to, you have to act like this is your last performance before because you never know if you're going to move on to the next one. Who knows? Maybe someone does some crazy performance that tops you, and then, you get cut. So each round I went into being like, I'm putting all my best moves in there and not thinking about the next round. And that's obviously where a lot of stress came in, a lot of okay, I did make it to the next round. Okay, I've got a few days to figure this out. And, that's actually where I feel like I made a lot of my extra crazy moves, was having that pressure on me, and I'm a perfectionist as well. So it's very stressful, but also kind of helped me, I feel like, in my YouTube nowadays, because I post once a week, and there's pressure to basically top your next video and all that. So in a sense, it really did help me with what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, the two takeaways that I got from that are, number one, progress is always on the other side of fear, right? Because especially at 14, 15, so young, a lot of people could have been in that situation and said, I'm afraid of talking to crowds. I'm not gonna go on stage. I'm not even gonna go after my dream because of this fear. But you tackled your fear, right? You showed up and you got to the other side. And now that actually helped you develop such valuable life skills that continue to, benefit you today. I can't imagine if you decided to throw in the towel at that point because of that fear. And then the other aspect that I find so interesting is take it one day at a time. Take it one show at a time. I think a lot of people get overwhelmed because they start overthinking as to, well, this is gonna happen, and then this is gonna happen, and then what am I gonna do? But instead, if we take things one step at a time, I really feel like that's so helpful in tackling any situation.
Yeah.
I know so many people are fascinated by this America's Got Talent story. I'm actually more fascinated about what happens next, because I bet there's a group of people that can listen to your story and say, yeah, I see why you're successful. You got put on this show. You had this massive platform that reached millions of people. Most people can't relate to that. They can't be in that situation. But it's not like you won, right? It's not like that guaranteed your life success. You actually got not the outcome, I'm guessing, you wanted, right, at that time, but you still had to find your way now in inventing what is Sofie 2.0? How committed are you to this? And when you have a vision, when you have a dream, and then it doesn't work out the way you want it, how do you sort of pick yourself back up and figure out how to reinvent yourself? So can you walk us through like how you went from where you ended with America's Got Talent to building this really successful YouTube career?
Yeah, so when I finished America's Got Talent, I was kind of like, okay, I had about 80K on Instagram.
Wow.
I didn't have a YouTube channel. And it was like maybe a month or two after or something, and someone mentioned to me, they're like, oh, you should start a YouTube channel. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. I watch some YouTubers and stuff. So I just decided, I'll try it. When I went into it, I didn't have any crazy expectation, but I had a lot of passion for it. So, going into it, I started doing a lot of stunts, things like that. And then started, collabing with some people that I actually was a fan of their work, that they hit me up to collab with them. And I was like, oh my God, this is so crazy. At that time, when I started collabing with people, I think I had 6,000 on YouTube.
Wow.
From there, I just, started collabing with people, doing tricks and all that stuff, started building my YouTube channel, finding more things out of how you build your YouTube channel and how you make the audience, interact with you more and, really get to know your audience.
What I love about what you do in your story is that it's such a untraditional thing to see blow up this big. You see it at Cirque, you see it in performances. And I think for everyone who's listening or watching, I'm sure there's people out there who think that their passion is niche or small or they're the only person who's interested. Right. But actually we see today that actually sometimes the more personal what you do is, the bigger it can be, because there are so many people interested in passionate people. And so when you're working on new moves or new ideas or new videos, and I know you've been so consistent, you haven't missed your weekly post in how many years?
5 years.
5 years. That's incredible
I've
consistency.
Been posting every Saturday at 9 a.m.
Wow.
That's unbelievable. That's great consistency. Tell us a bit about the process of I'm sure there's been days when, I don't know, maybe you've had an injury or maybe you've hurt yourself, or maybe there's a part of it that's not working out, or maybe you've had a tough week and then you still got to post. Tell us about some of the times when things go wrong, which we may not know or may not see.
Well, I feel like a lot of the time you'll expect an outcome with a YouTube video and it just doesn't go the way you want it to. And then you kind of have to go through that where you sit down and you're like, how can I make this work? And then sometimes it's last minute and you're like, I have to get a YouTube video out. And like for me, I get very passionate about it. So I'm putting out a video Saturday. Like there's no other option. And that's how I like to think. So, even when I've been like really sick or things like that, I try to make video ideas to work around that, as in like maybe it's more of a sit down video, or if it's, or I push through it a little bit just to, get really good content out of it, or, different things like that. But I've always made sure I make it work.
I remember there was a lot of nights for myself where I even had, Laura staying up with me until like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning because we were trying to make a 7 a.m. posting schedule. And it's like failure is not an option, right?
Yeah.
Where does that like drive come from? Like, is your goal like you have to post every Saturday because you're trying to achieve a certain amount of views, or you're trying to generate a certain amount of revenue? You don't strike me as that person. It feels more like you're connected to your community and something you really love doing. But what inspires all of this hard work and dedication?
I love making YouTube videos, and I think that's the difference. I'm not just doing it for the revenue coming out of that. I'm doing it because I really love it. I mean, I do have, nights where like it'll be like 5 a.m. and I'm like watching the YouTube video half asleep, like, yeah, that looks good. We're gonna post this.
And isn't it funny how those often end up being like your best videos?
Yeah,
right?
they end up being your best videos, the ones that you're like up at 5 a.m. for, watching and editing them. And
I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. And so I've started so many different businesses. And what's funny is that my whole life I was chasing money, and that was my main motivation for building any business. The one business that I ever started with no intention on ever making any money, it was strictly for the mission, ended up being my biggest business. So I love when you're leading with purpose and values and trying to make an impact and build community, that always ends up being the most successful thing you do.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. I feel like listening to both of you, I'm like, I remember I was working a full-time job when I started creating content. So I would get home from work at around 8, 9 p.m. and I didn't know how to edit. And so it used to take me from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. every day, 5 days a week, to edit 1 5-minute video every week because I had no idea how to edit. Those are terrible odds, by the way, out there. If your editor says to you, if you get an editor who says, it's going to take me 25 hours to edit a 5-minute video, do not pay them.
Technology wasn't the same back then either.
But that's what gets you through it, right? Like what you said, it's that passion, it's that mission, it's that desire to make people happy or entertain people or serve people, or in my case, wanting to give people the tools that I'd gained. Like that's what got me through going to sleep at 2 a.m., waking up at 6 again and going back to work and then coming back again. You're so creative that you have a lot of passions. Like you like to paint. Yeah. And now, of course, you're moving to music.
Yes.
And so tell us a bit about how you developed these other passions. Were they passions that always existed? Did they happen in process? Let's start with painting and then let's move into music, because I know that's becoming a huge part of your life now.
Yeah. Painting, to be honest, just started like as a hobby, like beginning of quarantine. I was like, I don't know, I feel like painting. And just started doing it as a hobby. I mean, still doing it as a hobby, but just when I feel like it, have a little bit extra time, But I like, creating unique things that like you wouldn't normally see on a painting, like some quirky and weird. What is that like on there?
And then with the music, like that's obviously becoming a huge part of your world and work now. Tell us a bit about your journey with music. Like when was the first time that became real for you?
So actually, my brother is really passionate in music. He's a producer now, and actually he has a band as well. He was, working on music inside our garage. We made our garage a whole like studio. And I came home from a video one day and I heard this beat he was working on. I was like, Zach, wait, I want to hop on that. That's so sick. Like, let me just like put on the headphones and do something in the mic. And also before that, I was never really a singer. I didn't really try. I did it, and my brother's like, wait, you have like a really unique voice. Like, let's try to do more things. And then that's where we created my song Bunny.
And what inspired you with this song? Like, what's it about?
The song is actually, it's about a heartbreak, but how I grew from that and the story on that heartbreak.
Can you tell us a bit more about that? Because I feel like that's, I'm thinking about the people that are going to be listening and watching this. And I feel like heartbreak when we're young, in whatever way it is, and I don't know yours, so I'd love to hear about it, but I feel like that's such a big part of growing up. It's like, was that like one of your first heartbreaks, or like?
Yeah, so it was actually, it was like the first real crush I had.
Yeah.
We were never in a relationship, but in, I guess, a situationship, leading me on in a sense. And then when I found basically everything out that, he doesn't actually, like me back and things like that, it put me through a bunch of emotions and also made me make myself like, I'm not going to take that anymore. I'm not going to, let myself like, they have to really care about me. I can't be reaching out to them. They have to care about me. And that's what I really learned from that relationship, situationship thing. And yeah, that's what the song's about, basically.
Yeah, it reminds me of a saying that says, like, don't make somebody... You thought I was going to say a personal story.
I thought you were about to tell me about your first heartbreak.
No, it reminds me of the quote that says, like, don't make somebody a priority when all you are is an option to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, good for you. I mean, and look where it's gotten you. And now you're you're definitely someone that takes all the negative that happens in your life and figures out a way to make music out of it, literally, right? Which is so beautiful. And I think that's been a big key to your success. But yeah, that's a beautiful story. And I also just think it's so great that all the content that you're creating, everything you're talking about, like it just seems to be coming from such a positive place, which a big reason that Jay and I even started this podcast and the show is because I feel like a lot of what's going viral right now on social media and on YouTube, people do things like for the views and, it's not necessarily helping other people become better or get to a better place. But talk about like your positivity a little bit. Like, how do you bring positivity into your content? And you seem like someone that cares about helping people. So how do you do that in a world that's full of like negativity and clickbait and such?
Yeah, I love inspiring people. So, whether it is, my contortion inspires you to start contortion, or, you find out you're flexible in some type of way, or, if you like making content, make it. Like, if you don't get the views, you don't get the views. That's okay. But, you're doing what you love. And it will maybe eventually translate into what you want to do, is either if you want to become a YouTuber or something like that. But I feel like what I love inspiring people with is just like, if you have a passion for it, do it. Because my passion just started as a hobby, because I thought I was going to be a marine biologist. I didn't think I was going to, be a YouTuber and contortionist. My goal was, I was like, I want to be a marine biologist when I'm older. That was my whole plan. And ended up changing because I ended up falling in love with contortion. And I'm also a little bit of an adrenaline junkie, so I love doing stunts and crazy things up high in the air and everything. So if I inspire people to, just do what they love, like, hopefully they'll realize that can turn into a passion of theirs and maybe even a job.
You've definitely inspired us.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm listening to you right now, and I'm hoping that everyone back home can see that this life that you're living on TikTok and YouTube and all this amazing content that you make, but behind it, there's this really positive energy and mission and purpose behind why you do it. And that was the reason why we started this show, because we thought there's so many incredibly talented people like yourself, and people don't always hear about like why you do it, because they're so fascinated by what you do and who's in your life. And kind of off Dhar's question as well, I guess, as we were talking about earlier, public relationships, being a creator, you're in a generation where you're doing the thing that everyone wants to do, right? In terms of like, I think there was a study a few years ago that was saying that most 9-year-olds, when asked what they want to be a YouTuber.
Yeah.
Right? They want to do something to do with social media. And you're doing that, but at the same time, there's so much gossip, there's negativity, there's the comment section, there's people judging you, judging your skills, judging your friends' skills. Like, we see this all the time, right? Where people are having mental health challenges, body image issues, like so many other things going on. Whether it's for yourself or for your friends, how have you found ways to take care of your own mental health and your own well-being when we're in a space where everything's open for judgment and opinions?
I've learned to be very confident with myself, to the point where comments like body comments or any, negativity now doesn't affect me. But obviously it took time. You can have 100 people saying they love you and then one comment that says they hate you. And for some reason, that comment will really affect you for some reason. And so I've learned to start focusing more on the good comments than the bad. And if I see a bad comment, like, okay, that's your opinion. But obviously, that took a while because, especially being on America's Got Talent, and I would read all the comments under the thing and, some of the comments, that's not cool enough. And I'm like, what do you mean? Or like, I'd really let that affect me. Now I've started, obviously, I've been on YouTube for 5 years and on the internet for 6 years. And I've just started looking at it as, look how many people love what I do and love me for me. And if I get a few comments that say they hate me, I just ignore them because look how many more people care about me.
Yeah. And what was that first time you saw one of those negative comments? Like, what was it that at that time would affect you? What would it be? What were usually the things that hurt the most for you?
It would either be like a mention about my body or something, whether because I have a more muscular body type and, not a very, super, thin and, it kind of affected me because I was like, oh, like, what? And it kind of made me think to myself. And then I was like, no, well, the reason why I have this body is to be able to do all these crazy things that everybody loves. And so why am I going to be sad about that?
So powerful.
Yeah, I love that. I'm getting so inspired.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
Yeah. There's this saying that just says why would I care if anyone doesn't like me when most people are struggling to like themselves? Mm-hmm. And I think it's so powerful that you're always able to see the positivity in it. And even in this conversation, it's so positive that I'm even hesitant to take it towards what are those negative experiences in dealing with such? And I see a lot of people turn off comments or whatever it is because to be successful for 5 years, that's not a coincidence. Mm-hmm. That takes hard work, that takes dedication, that takes consistency, especially not to miss a single posting within that time. So yeah, I'm just in awe and I applaud you for all your hard work and effort.
I also feel like if you're commenting a hate comment, you're probably upset within yourself more than you are them. If you're going out of your way to go comment it, there's probably something they need to work on.
Right.
And it's not about you.
I'm an avid Jay Shetty podcast listener. And one of the favorite things that he says often is hurt people. And that really resonates with me too.
Yeah. But it is hard when you're first starting out. It's really hard dealing with criticism. I think all of us have felt that at different times. When I first started out, it was actually a lot of the people around me. So it wasn't my immediate friends or family, but it was that person you went to school with, or that family member that you don't really talk to, or it was the extended community or society where you'd see them judging or critiquing what you were doing. And I think people forget that no amount of success, no amount of money, and no amount of fame make your emotions hurt less, right? It's no matter how rich someone gets, no matter how much successful someone gets, no matter how much money someone makes, it doesn't take your emotions away. And so if someone says something hurtful to you, it hurts. Yeah. And I think making people aware of that and hearing about you saying it, you were just 14 years old on America's Got Talent. And to think about a 14-year-old going through that, I'm hoping that anyone who's listening and watching will think twice before they put up something like that, recognizing that there's always a human at the other end. And so I'm really glad that you opened up and did share that about the body image and work, because it's so painful and hurtful to hear that. So thank you for opening up and sharing that. I wanted to know, you've talked before about visioning and mood boards.
Yes.
Like, you know, like visualization, mood boards. I'm intrigued to know what are you visualizing right now and what's on your mood board right now?
I created a mood board when I was really young, and it had a bunch of things on it, like traveling the world and like doing what I love. And it's just like a bunch of pictures about different images, like that places I wanted to visit, different things like that. Had a bunch of other things on it, like goals and things like that. And a lot of those goals came to life by accident. And I made that mood board when I was like 7 years old, maybe. I had a lot of like bucket list stuff I wanted to do. Like, I want to go skydiving. I want to do this. I want to travel the world. I want to, you know, all this stuff. And all of it came to real life. So I made a mood board. Again, a lot of it has like just different goals I have for the future. Like, you know, one of my goals, I'm at 7 million now, so, you know, to get 10 million by the end of this year.
On YouTube.
On YouTube,
Okay.
yeah, that's one of my big goals right now.
All right.
And just, I guess, traveling the world, do what I love, start live performing, singing, start, you know, performing maybe contortion while I'm singing and like going up in the air and on my hoop and doing tricks and stuff like that. That's my big goal right now. I definitely want to do that.
That's so cool. I can see everyone going, I want to see that. That's so unique.
I never knew how talentless I was, actually, until I started talking to Sofie.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Sofie paints, she sings,
I know.
and she does contortion. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I like art. So I like creating art, and whether it's like turning contortion into a dance or, you know, music and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Tell me, I want to hear about, I heard from someone that you've tried meditating before. And I wanted to hear about that experience because I've been meditating for a long time. I started when I was 18. And so I first properly started meditating when I was 18 years old. And since I was 18, I've meditated for about an hour and a half to 2 hours a day till today.
Yeah.
It's been a huge part of my life. It's been life-changing on so many personal levels, whether it's clarity, relationships, visions, creativity. I want to hear about your meditation experience.
Yeah, so I actually started meditating when I was doing gymnastics. So like age 7 to 10, and I'd always do it before a big performance. It'd always be at night. I'd sit in my bed and just like sit up and just imagine my whole performance in my bed, or completely clear my mind. And I'd do both. So I'd clear my mind, and then maybe like a little bit later, I'd start just imagining the entire routine in my head and doing it exactly super perfect and, you know, everything. And that's where it started. And then when I started getting into like contortion and everything, I started meditating before I do my performances live and things like that. Like before I go on stage, I have to be alone. Like, or I don't have to be alone, just no one can talk to me because I have to just close my eyes, blank out my mind, and just not think about anything, not think about what I'm about to perform, nothing. Because I do love adrenaline, but when you do go on stage and you're doing very technical moves and very intricate ones where if you're a little too far, like an inch too far to the right, you're gonna fall down or different things like that, you have to be calm enough and not pay attention to, you have to pay attention to the audience, but not pay attention to the audience, and you have to focus more on yourself and feel like you're in a room by yourself. To do that, I've learned to calm my breath, calm my heartbeat, and just close my eyes and no one talk to me.
I guess we'll go away.
I know. You know, it's funny. I used to listen to like Tupac or Metallica, something totally on the opposite end of the spectrum when I was younger, to hype myself up for something because I wanted to bring the energy. And now that I'm older, I actually do meditate and stretch and try to calm myself before going into any big moment. And, you know, speaking of big moments, like I'm sure, especially as you're about to hit 10 million subscribers on YouTube and you're growing into this creator journey, you probably have some people that you would love to collab with, right? Or certain big YouTubers, or even like big celebrity interests that you haven't met yet. Who would be like your dream collaboration and why?
Billie Eilish would be really
Good
sick.
shout, good
or
shout.
Melanie Martinez.
Yes.
I've always been a big fan of Melanie.
Yeah.
Yeah, great names, great names. Well, we're putting it out into the universe. So.
I know, we got to visualize.
Gonna make that happen. That sounds awesome. That's amazing. Sofie, it's been such a joy to sit with you today. Honestly, I'm so blown away by you. Like, I feel like you're wise beyond your years. I really hope that everyone who watches and listens to this interview, if they don't already follow you, goes and follows you. If they do already follow you, hopefully they've just got to experience and witness how deeply incredible you are.
Oh, thank you.
And
I
you're
think the
positive
headline needs to be
energy.
how to take negative noise and turn it into positive music.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
That's like been the story of your life,
Yeah.
it seems.
Yeah. Sophie, is there any last message you want to share with anyone or anything you want to put out there?
And
Yeah,
how do
I
we
mean-
find your song as well?
Oh, yes. If you love what you do, keep doing it. You never know what it'll turn into. And yeah, you can find my song on Spotify. It's called Bunny. Check it out.
I love it.
We can't wait to listen to it. Yeah. Awesome. You've been incredible. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you
Sophie.
guys.
Thank you so much. Sofie Dossi, everyone.